Imagine losing your entire family's future because of a trusted relative's greed. When I was 17, my Uncle Mark was the kind of man the whole town put on a pedestal. Church-going, generous, always the perfect family man who spoke about community values. But what no one knew was that he was systematically stealing from every single person who trusted him. And my Aunt Linda, she wasn't just in the dark. She was actively helping him cover up the fraud. I grew up in a small, tight-knit town in Central Texas where everyone knew everyone's business and trust was the only currency that mattered. My parents weren't rich, not by a long shot, but they were the definition of hardworking. My uncle, Mark Bennett, was my dad's older brother. Confident, charming, always the life of the party, always throwing those huge theatrical summer barbecues. He ran what he called a family investment group, a seemingly legitimate operation convincing people from our town, friends, neighbors, and family, to pool their money together for property projects out of state. It sounded secure, like small town people helping each other grow. My dad, blinded by brotherly loyalty and the promise of a better future for us, invested everything. Our family's entire savings, including my college fund and the deposit they were saving for a bigger house. And my Aunt Linda was the quiet partner in crime, always smiling, always serving iced tea, always defending Mark's grand plans with a gentle, reassuring voice. Inciting incident, discovery, and initial betrayal. When I turned 16, a quiet alarm bell started ringing in my head. Little things started to feel deeply, profoundly off. Uncle Mark would get visibly furious when someone mentioned returns or asked for an update on their investment timeline. He'd loudly joke about slow markets, but his eyes would be sharp, cold, and calculating. Then, one fateful Sunday evening, I went over to their house to grab a book I'd lent Linda. I froze behind the kitchen door. The door was slightly ajar, and overheard a phone call that didn't just change things. It detonated my understanding of reality. Mark was whispering, his voice low and laced with terrifying panic. "They're asking questions again, Linda. The Thompsons are calling the bank. You have to delete those messages and emails. Do you hear me?" Her voice, usually so steady and sweet, was shaking. "I already did, Mark." I told them the paperwork got accidentally lost in the flood. I told them we're fixing it. I stood there, utterly paralyzed with shock. Paperwork? Messages? Lost in a flood that never happened? It clicked into a terrifying, undeniable picture. He was scamming people, and Linda knew it. That night, my stomach churning with terror and a burgeoning sense of anger, I told my dad exactly what I heard. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. He laughed it off, a forced, uncomfortable sound. He said, with a strained tone of absolute conviction, "Don't talk nonsense, Emma. Mark's my brother. He's been good to us. He'd never hurt his own family." That blind loyalty was heartbreaking. But 2 months later, the truth was unavoidable. Our entire investment, my dad's life savings, had vanished. When my dad finally confronted him, Uncle Mark just gave that familiar, charming shrug. "It was a bad deal, brother. The property market collapsed. I'll make it right. Trust me." He never did. Rising family fracture and sadness. When my parents, terrified and financially ruined, confronted Mark again, my Aunt Linda stepped in, performing the role of the dutiful, distressed wife perfectly. Fake tears, trembling hands, and all. "Mark didn't mean for this to happen.